Since you're like two nationalities, I'll do it like both ways. So I'll be like, Guten Abend, Dobre večer.
Dobre.
Okay, so I'm here with Kev1n from Millenium, formerly SK Gaming. So that's where I kind of want to start the interview, okay? Because a lot of people won't know this. They'll know that you were in SK for a long time. They know that Nif was in SK, they know that Candy Panda was in SK. But the three of you were in a team before, Games.de, and you actually played at the Season 1 finals with this team as well. So the three of you actually used to be a team even before then. Were those guys just the same back then as they were in SK later on? Were people different? Did people play different positions? I know the meta was different then, you know.
No, basically only me. I changed my position because I was a mid laner before. So in games I played mid lane. Only my position kind of changed. I still played AD and support, so that's it.
Because one of the things I've noticed is because Ocelot was so famous in SK, I've even seen people say that like SK was always Ocelot and then all the other players were changing. But really it was only jungler that always changed, you know. Candy went out for a little while, but otherwise the three of you were always in there and Ocelot as well. So that four-man team, Ocelot, you, Candy Panda and Nif, all these years together, like when you look back on the legacy of how long you all played together, was that like a team that always was consistent? Was it up and down? How do you think of it?
I think we as a team had up and downs. I think that's for everyone visible. Like once we played really good, then we played again really bad. And we weren't really consistent. That's what I can say.
One of the things that was always strange to me about that SK team was when you would try junglers, in general, there was a lot of times you tried like newer players or people, you never like went and got some like superstar name. Like what was the process like in recruiting if you were looking for a jungler in SK? What were you guys thinking of?
So at this time, I think it was really hard actually to get good junglers because most of them were just taken by teams already. So the Zolo queue didn't really cover that many good junglers. So we just had to go a bit back and just take some we don't know and just people we try for like 1-2 weeks and then see how it goes with them. So basically we went up like this and I think we maybe didn't test it at the end because the first weeks were always good with the new junglers. Like they went really good. The scrims, the tournaments even, they were really good. But then after like 2 weeks or on a really big event, it just falls apart, and they kind of just show that they are not really made maybe for this stage or something like that. For example, for me, it was for Dedrayon. Like he was really good, I think. He at this time he was really good, and we played Seabed with him, and it was a really quiet environment. Let's say me like that, because we were on the stage. The fans and the crowd was really far away from the stage, so there were no noise for us.
Okay.
But then we went to MLG Anaheim, and people were around us and watching us every time, and a lot of noises were there. So he was really nervous and he was shaking, and he said even in game, I cannot play like this. I just like, you know. So this is kind of like that, and it kind of went like that for a couple of junglers we had.
The one that everyone always remembers fondly is Aranea, because obviously you had the huge result coming second at regionals. Everyone's heard a million times the story of like why he left, or if he was kicked, or he had all these problems in real life. What I wanted to know was just like when you think of that particular SK lineup, what was it good at?
I think we were good in strategizing, so our preparation was really good, and I think that was our key to win games. Like at Gamescom, for example, we just knew what we will do the whole game. Like the four buffs strat, for example, and Gangplank, for example, as well. Like we just think everything through, like every possibility that could be, we just think it through, and we won. So
the funny thing is, when people think of that result, because CLG was such a big name, everyone always thinks like, oh, it was an upset, like it was a fluke, they beat them once. But when I went back and looked through all the games, so before then at ECC Poland, you played them in the semi-finals and it went to 3 games, but they won. And actually in this series, you almost won that series as well. Like from what I remember, the first 2 maps that I watched, you personally were like owning completely. Like even on the second map that you lost, you had like some crazy score. You were Gangplank, I think, both times.
Yeah.
You kept using that in the series afterwards. Was this just like your champion? Why were you doing so well against like Wicked when it was just like his prime?
Yeah. I think at this point, I kind of was pretty. I wanted to try something new, so I just told my team, hey, I will try now this or this or this. And at the end, Gangplank worked out good for us in scrims. We kind of won everything. And especially with the level 1 strat, with me getting blue buff first and then TPing bot, it was just really something new and maybe teams didn't expect with a Gangplank. And of all the combination with Orianna, with Gangplank, with the movement you can have, it was just really strong. And I don't think someone expected that. So yeah, we just tried out stuff and worked out.
At the time, because of their results, people are going to say, okay, Wicked and Darian were the top laners in Europe. Where did you see yourself at the time? Did you think you were as good as them?
I thought I was as good as them, and I think I proved it at this time. Maybe not visible for everyone, but for my team and for the enemy teams, I think they knew that I'm kind of top laner. Sorry.
So there was this period actually in 2012. There wasn't tournaments, so people don't remember it very well, where you and Ocelot swapped positions.
Yeah.
You went mid and he went top.
MLG Anaheim.
Yeah. And you did quite well.
Yeah, like, as I said, I was a mid laner before, and I still feel really comfortable on that position. I still play it in Zolokyu sometimes, because it's just really something different than top lane. It just feels so home for me to play mid lane actually. Yeah, it's just an amazing position.
Because what confused me was, when I heard this story that you were going to go to Millenium, and Kup used to play the top lane, I thought, oh, Kevin's going to play mid lane. Because I thought, maybe you don't like the tanks and all that, you want to be like AP champions, like you just play top. Was it ever even considered, or was it always considered that you would go top and he would go mid?
No, I was already considered as going top, because I actually choose it. I don't really want to change right now. I feel good right now top lane, and I'm known maybe even as a top laner, so I want to keep going with that, and I want to prove to the world that I'm one of the best.
There's a lot of top laners at the moment, especially if they used to be really good in like Season 2, Season 3, who complain now. Like they don't like having to play super tanks, they don't want to play Dr. Mundo. Like you don't mind it?
Well, right now, like after like the first 2 weeks when I played it was fine for me. But right now it's getting really boring a bit to play them, because it's pretty much always the same. Nothing really changes, or maybe item build changes, which affect only the lane phase. But later in the team fight, still the most tanky guy will win. So basically, yeah, I'm a bit bored of that meter as well. So it could change.
Do you think it's true that you have to play the tanks? Is it still okay to play like Riven or to play Nidalee or whatever you want to play top if you know the matchup?
For the laning phase, yes you can. But later on, I think you really have to play out the comp really good later on in team fights, and how you're gonna perform later on in the late game. How if the team is behind or ahead, because with such a top laner, when your team is behind, you cannot really do much, because you don't have the guy who is standing in front and taking all the damage. You kind of, if you go a damage top laner, you kind of have to be with your team and go all in and destroy just the enemy team in that fight. So yeah, that just doesn't work if the team is behind. So that's kind of the risk behind it.
If we imagine, okay, so you're going to stay top lane, you're staying top lane in Millenium, but if we imagine somehow I did let you play middle lane, like what champions would suit you there? What style would you like? Would you want to play Gragas, all these champions you'd be good on?
Yeah, I prefer still the kind of old champions, because yeah, I was a season 1 mid laner, so Gragas, Anivia even, Orianna, I loved Orianna. Pretty much these champions would fit me, but I don't have a problem with playing Zed or Kha'Zix or Kaylee or stuff like that. I really learn fast, so doesn't matter with champions.
One thing people always used to think about SK, your fans who don't know behind the scenes, they thought to themselves, a bit like, when Hotshot GG was still playing in CLG, everyone thought, oh, well, he'll never be able to be removed because he's like the star and it's his team. Well, in SK, people used to think, okay, well, no matter how Ocelot plays, he'll always be in the team, okay? But I heard from Candy Panda that you guys actually had a choice before the summer split last year to get a new mid player.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people thought around that time, like at the spring split, okay, everyone else in this team is really good. And for whatever reason, they said Ocelot's not good, okay? They think his level's gone down or everyone else is too good now at mid. If you could go back in time, could you really have gotten like a superstar mid, put him in, and suddenly the SK would be really good? Do you think it was okay how it played out? What do you think?
I think at the beginning of the summer split, because Spring Runs he actually played well, But as soon as the summer split began, he was really inconsistent, and the top laners, mid laners, sorry, were really ahead of him. I felt, and his mechanics were really not on top. Like he was really playing only this like 2 champions, maybe Orianna and the other one, can't remember. So it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough at this time. So yes, as Candy said, there was a kind of already a vote that he will go out and we'll get a new one. I think we could have found a really good one. Like the mid laners at this time were in solo queue were really good. Like we had some in our ISIS, and yeah.
Because I remember talking to an SK member around Gamescom, so after you guys didn't get to the playoffs, so it was already decided, like, we're probably not going to keep this exact lineup. And he made it sound like, okay, we will keep the 4 players, and actually maybe we'll recruit like a solo queue star as the mid, like a fresh talent. But I heard from the Slash that like it was already decided around this time, like, no, Kev1n will leave, like, was this true?
At which time?
I think around Gamescom, wasn't that when you decided you were going to leave?
Or
maybe a little bit after?
A little bit after, I think. Okay. Yeah, it was like.
So you never thought about keeping the team together even without Ocelot? You were always going to go, I'm going to go to another team.
Yeah, because for me, my point was like, I just wanted to try something new, as I explained before already. I wanted a new environment, a new team, a new, just organization. Not because SK was bad or something, but just because I was already there for two years. And yeah, I just wanted to test something new and just see the world, maybe even, or the different type of organization from my eyes. So that's basically why I choose already to leave SK.
Okay, because the weird thing was, on paper, you joined NIP, but you never actually got to play for NIP, so you sort of did and you didn't, and then you left. If we can just imagine hypothetically that Bjergsen doesn't go to TSM, he decides I'm going to stay in Denmark or wherever he's from, and you actually play with that team. Hook bought you. It looked like a good team on paper. I thought like that's going to be one of the best teams in LCS. What were you thinking when you joined the team?
I thought we would be the best because Bjergsen was just a top player, which he proves right now as well. So with this setup we had there was just amazing. Like we played the qualification for DreamHack, I think it was, and we just won because we were just so strong even without practicing before. So we felt really good, but yeah, so then the thing happened with Bjergsen going to TSM and everything fall apart, and NIP had to take the hard decision, which I can understand, but which, destroyed a bit my mood at this time.
At the time, people said, I mean, they still say it now, oh, Zoro is the best top laner. Did you agree? Like, could you understand in that sense why they took Zoro there?
I don't think they took him because of skill or something, because I don't think actually he is the best top laner. Okay. I think, not to be offensive, but I think he's a bit overhyped by the community.
Okay. In what sense? What do you think they give him too much credit for?
I think because Wicked kind of, how was it called?
Fell off?
No, he kind of...
Oh, he boosted him up? He hyped him?
Yeah, he kind of Wicked hyped him because they scrimmed a lot maybe, and maybe
guys.
Maybe he lost a lot versus him or something, and he said, oh yeah, he's so good, and of course he got such a huge fan base, so people were just continuing with that. But I never had actually problems versus him in scrims, so for me he isn't the best. I think he's one of the good players, of course, one of the top players, but he isn't the best for sure.
Okay. Because the other thing was, from how it happened on paper, so there was no tournaments yet for you to play in NIP.
Yeah.
It looked like, okay, you joined, but then because of all the roster changes, like everything split apart anyway. But was it really out of the blue for you that Bjergsen's leaving? Like some people say, oh, maybe he already had contact with TSM and he was always planning it. Did you really have no idea?
No, I had idea, of course. Like there were the rumors, and NIP told us that there's a chat between them. So, but then 2 days before, like there was kind of like a chat that it's kind of over. Like they won't sell Bjergsen. And then I was okay. Let's win everything. Then let's prepare. 2 days after, I was 1 day before I would go to the NIP house, and I was ready. And then the message came that I'm out, like instantly. Like I was like, are you kidding me right now? Or because I didn't have my last information was that he didn't get sold to TSM, and then suddenly 2 days after I'm out. So that was really hard for me. It was a really tough time, but again, a new experience for me. I never had that, so it was good for me as well a bit, because I kind of already thought about my future and kind of knew what I will do in the next months and which team I will go probably. So it was in a way good for me and a way bad for me. So
because after that, the rumor in behind the scenes was like, oh well, now Kevin's going to join Alliance.
Yeah.
So he's trying out for Alliance. He's playing there. And the funny thing was, the rumor of Wicked joining Alliance didn't come till right at the very end. It sounded like, oh well, Kev1n will be top, Froggen, and it sounded like it made sense because the idea was like Froggen didn't want to play with any of those guys. He wants a totally new team, totally new start. And then last minute, suddenly Wicked's in, and then Froggen gave some reason like, oh, I think he's better on like his best champions than Kev1n is like a wide pool, but I think there's some weird reasoning. Was that like a last minute thing? Did you really think you were going to get into that team?
There were from the beginning. They told me already that there will be tryouts between me and Wicked.
Okay.
So it wasn't kind of the last end. I played the whole time with them in scrims like for 1 week, and it went really good. But at the end, the decision came that they will take Wicked. I cannot say why,
Sure.
But it's not what you said.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
I had to look for a new team.
Yeah. So then you came to Millenium. Now, here's what I don't understand. Like when we do this interview now, your team's bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weird scenario where when I saw your lineup on paper, a bit like the NIP lineup, a bit like the Alliance lineup, I'm like, all these names, it has to be one of the best teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Kev1n, like RNA, this is going to be a really good team. Like, what was the initial expectation when you joined the team, and what hasn't happened yet to let you be good?
So basically, I thought we will be really good, and we will start off the season really good. Sadly, it didn't go this way because we kind of didn't have our last minute alternate canceled the agreement, the contract with us. So we had to look first for another sponsor, an organization that will go with us. So that took again 2-3 days to fix that. So at the 5th January, we had our sponsor with them and stuff like that. So excuse me, and after that, yeah, it kind of took us, because we didn't have the house here yet. We kind of had to move out fast, and we had to wait until 1 day before LCS started. We had to wait to practice here. So it was really hard for us to prepare somehow, because we had to roam again in Cologne between halteds and stuff like that. And after that, keep going. We still had to roam the guys. I'm lucky because my girlfriend is living close by, so I could just go there and play the whole time, and I was not really infected with that. So, but the guys had a really tough time here the last few weeks. And then when we finally moved last week to our new house close to this Dortmund, which is far away, but at least we have a house. We don't have to roam. We can focus. It showed already that we improve, and we never were bad in the laning phase. The individual skill was never really bad, but just our team play was really off. Excuse me. And yeah, that was kind of it. The last week we trained hard to kind of fix that. Yesterday we had problems versus Gambit. With that, we had a bit problems with the objective control. This game we really did a good job, and everyone just played on top. And yeah, the team fight's just going really good right now. So we just see a good future right now. We will keep going and keep going up in the ladder. Because
when I watched some of the early games for Millenium, I remember the CLG game. Okay, yeah. You should have just stomped that completely easily. But then that first game came back, and it went forever, and you still won. But it shouldn't even have been close, you know. Yeah. Then I remember in LCS you had this game against Fnatic, where you were winning, you're going to beat Fnatic, and then suddenly it all got...
Yeah,
so it seemed like the same trend. Did you notice this immediately? You couldn't fix it?
The thing was, we couldn't fix it because it was just kind of it wasn't kind of we didn't know, it was kind of we didn't know what to do, because we were kind of still new to the team, Kerb still to mid, me still top, kind of new player, so we didn't have that much practice to kind of grow as a team. And that was kind of our problem. That was really hard for us, and Bota was really hard for us. Actually, to end the game actually was really tough for us. If the enemy had one wave clear or two, it was really hard for us to dive to get this call. Let's dive. Let's do this. So that improved until now, and yeah.
Most players will have like a different answer for who the best person they've played against, depending on style of play. Okay, so maybe they do really well against one guy and someone else thinks he's the best. You've played against like really good Korean top laners, like Americans, all the European players. Who for you was the hardest for Kev1n over his whole career? Who was the toughest?
For me, ever was Shy.
Shy?
Yeah.
Okay. What was so tough about him?
I don't know. He had just like the lane control was just really amazing by him. Like it was really hard to do something because he knew exactly when to push and how to play his matchup. So it was really tough for me to play against him because first time I played versus him at the World Championship Season 2. So I was pretty new to that. Like I didn't know much about him either. So I didn't do good research on him, but I learned from that. And I'm just really excited to play against Korean top laners again because I think they just have their laning phase is just really overall so strong, and their calls in their head when they do something is really good. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to play against them again.
What do you think they do different in laning phase? Because at the moment, since both people just 1v1 all the time, it seems like both players just farm on their own in top.
Yeah, right now I don't know how it would be versus Korea. Probably the same as it's over here.
Okay.
Like they don't play much different right now when I look at LGN or something. So it would be probably the same boring stuff as here. So not much to say about that.
Okay, fair enough. One other player I had to ask you about actually, when we were talking about Zora Zero and then we were talking about all the period with Alliance, the player who also got hyped out of nowhere was JWoww, because everyone kept saying, like Froggen was like, oh, he is the best top laner in Europe, even though we haven't seen him in an LCS team yet. Was he any good? Have you played against him?
I played against him and went kind of even. So it wasn't for me like any other player said he will just crush you, blah, blah, blah. So for me it was pretty like every other top laner. I didn't have much problems. Maybe when he played like aggressive one, and I had a bad matchup against that, so that was maybe harder. But overall, he's just like another top laner. So nothing really.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. Like
there's a trend in Korea now, especially with Faker and Shy and Flame, where they try to get the guy who's like the highest elo. They try to put him in a team and they think like maybe he could be a new superstar because he's so skilled, he's got all this elo. In Europe, I've noticed that doesn't really happen. Like the funny thing is, the guy who you basically replaced in Millenium was like the top elo guy for like forever for Ellen Lord, and he wasn't like some god tier mid lane or anything. In Europe, do we have like solo queue stars who could be really good in teams? Are they just not as good competitive? What do you think?
I think we got, of course, Vizix, which is just a brilliant player, but just maybe a bit too toxic. But maybe he changed now. I don't know. A long time ago, I saw him in game. So I think he could be great in a team. He could be really good. Probably there are more, but I just cannot tell them. Okay. Like I'm not playing too much solo queue right now because team practice is over solo queue. So not in challenger yet, but soon. Okay.
Do you have anyone final to thank or say hello to at the end of the interview?
Yeah, of course. Thank you to my whole fan base, which is growing every day. I'm really thankful for that. Of course, for my support, from my dad, from my mother, they're calling almost every day to know how it's going and stuff like that. A big thanks to my girlfriend. She's just doing a really good job, helping me with the site, with Facebook, with Twitter, with even the new project I'm doing right now. So which is coming soon. So yeah, just overall thanks to everyone who's supporting me. Of course to my teammates, which are always there to back me up. It's really cool. It's way different than it was in SK. So yeah, I'm just thankful for having this life.
Okay, danke, dziękuję.
Danke, dziękuję.